My stepkids hate me because I won't treat them equally, but they have no idea why I was standing in the kitchen when my husband snapped, "Either you take all the kids on those trips, or you don't take Ava at all." And that's when everything inside me snapped too, because he had no idea what those trips actually were. Let me back up. When I married David 3 years ago, I knew what I was signing up for, or at least I thought I did. 5 kids. 5 beautiful, complicated, messy kids ranging from 6 to 13 years old. I'd been a kindergarten teacher for almost a decade, so I figured I could handle it. I'd handled classroom chaos, parent-teacher conferences that turned into screaming matches, kids with behavioral issues that required 3 adults to manage. How hard could 5 kids be? Turns out, being a stepmom is nothing like being a teacher. Nothing. In a classroom, you get to send them home at 3 o'clock. You get summers off. You get to maintain professional distance. But in a blended family, you're in it, all the way in, every single day. And there's no manual for how to love someone else's kids, especially when their biological parents are still very much in the picture, still making decisions, still shaping their world in ways you can't control. David and his ex-wife, Miranda, had what I initially thought was an amicable divorce. They shared custody of all 5 kids, or so I believed when we first started dating. The kids would spend 1 week with us, 1 week with her. It seemed fair, functional, almost healthy, compared to some of the horror stories I'd heard from other blended families. But about 6 months into our marriage, I started noticing something strange. Every other week, when it was time for the kids to go to Miranda's house, 4 of them would pack their bags with excitement. They'd be bouncing around, asking if they could bring their favorite toys, chattering about what Mom promised to do with them that week. But Ava, sweet, quiet, oldest Ava, would retreat to her room. She'd close the door, and she wouldn't come out until her siblings had left. At first, I thought maybe she was just going through a phase. She was 8 years old, right at that age where kids start wanting more independence, more space. But then one night, after her siblings had left for Miranda's house, I found Ava sitting at the top of the stairs, knees pulled to her chest, tears streaming down her face. "Sweetie, what's wrong?" I'd asked, sitting down beside her. She'd looked at me with these huge, devastated eyes and whispered, "Why doesn't my mom want to see me anymore?" That's when David finally told me the truth. Ava wasn't Miranda's biological daughter. She was from David's previous relationship, a relationship that had ended badly before he'd even met Miranda. When David and Miranda got together, Miranda had agreed to raise Ava as her own. For years she did. She was Ava's mom in every way that mattered. Miranda had been there for Ava's first day of kindergarten, her school plays, her birthday parties. Ava called her mom. Ava loved her. But when David and Miranda's marriage fell apart, something shifted. Miranda told David she wanted to maintain a relationship with her biological children, the 4 younger kids, but she didn't want to see Ava anymore. Just like that. No transition period, no family therapy, no gentle letdown. One day, Ava had a mom who tucked her in at night, and the next day, she had nothing. David had tried to fight it. He'd begged Miranda to reconsider, to at least visit Ava occasionally, to not cut her off completely. But Miranda was firm. She said it was too painful, too complicated, that she needed to focus on her own children, and legally, she had every right to make that choice. Ava wasn't hers. So every other week, Ava watched her 4 younger siblings pack their bags and leave to see the only mother she'd ever known. And every other week, she was left behind. I'll never forget the first time I truly understood what that was doing to her. It was a Thursday evening, the first night after her siblings had left for Miranda's. I'd made Ava's favorite dinner spaghetti with the fancy marinara sauce from the Italian market, but she barely touched it. She pushed the noodles around her plate, her eyes distant and glassy. After dinner, she went straight to her room without a word. Around 9 o'clock, I went to check on her. Her door was closed, but I could hear this awful sound coming from inside, quiet, choked sobs, the kind that come from someone trying desperately not to be heard. I knocked softly and opened the door. Ava was curled up in a ball on her bathroom floor, still fully dressed, her face blotchy and wet. The sight of her there, collapsed on the cold tile like she'd just run out of the ability to hold herself together, nearly broke me. "Oh, honey," I said, and I sat down on the floor next to her and pulled her into my lap. She was too big to really fit anymore, all long limbs and elbows, but she curled into me anyway like she was trying to disappear into my body. "I don't understand," she sobbed. "I don't understand what I did wrong. Why doesn't she want me? What did I do?" I didn't have an answer. What do you say to a child whose mother chose to stop loving her? How do you explain that sometimes adults make cruel, selfish decisions and there's no reason that will ever make it okay? "You didn't do anything wrong," I told her, rocking her back and forth. "This isn't about you. This is about her. And I know that doesn't make it hurt less, but Ava, I need you to hear me. You are so loved. Your dad loves you. I love you. This isn't your fault." But I could could tell she didn't believe me. How could she? When the proof that she was unwanted walked out the door every other week to go be with the woman who didn't want her anymore. That night, she finally fell asleep on my lap around midnight. I carried her to her bed, tucked her in, and sat with her until I was sure she wouldn't wake up. Then I went downstairs and told David we had a serious problem. She's not okay, I said. She's really not okay. David looked exhausted. He'd been trying to hold everything together too, trying to be strong for all 5 kids, trying to make this bizarre custody arrangement work. I know, he said quietly. I just don't know what to do about it. We need to get her into therapy, I said, and we need to do something, anything to help her feel like she matters during those weeks when her siblings are gone. The next morning, I made an appointment with a child psychologist, and that afternoon I sat down with Ava and asked her if she wanted to go on an adventure with me. She looked at me warily. What kind of adventure? I don't know yet, I said honestly, but I was thinking maybe we could get out of the house for a day. Just you and me. We could go somewhere fun. Do something that makes you smile. For the first time in days, I saw a flicker of something other than pain in her eyes. Really? So that weekend I took her to the beach. I drove her 2 hours south to this beautiful stretch of coastline I'd visited as a kid. We stopped at a surf shop on the way, and I bought her a new swimsuit, bright pink with little white flowers, the kind she'd been eyeing in the store window for months but never asked for. I got her a boogie board too, one of the foam ones that's easy for kids to use. When we got to the beach, she hesitated at the edge of the water, like she'd forgotten how to be a kid who plays. So I grabbed her hand and pulled her in, and we jumped over waves together until a big one caught us off guard and knocked us both flat on our backs. We came up sputtering, covered in sand, and Ava started laughing, this genuine, surprised, joyful laugh that I hadn't heard from her in months. We spent the whole day there. We rode waves until our arms were sore. We built a sand castle that got destroyed by the tide. We ate ice cream cones that melted faster than we could lick them. We got French fries from a boardwalk stand and fed some to the seagulls even though the signs said not to. And somewhere between the boogie board and the fries we shared on the boardwalk, she smiled. Like a real smile. For the first time in weeks. On the drive home, she fell asleep in the back seat with her new swimsuit wrapped in a towel on her lap. And I remember looking at her in the rearview mirror and thinking, I'm going to keep doing this. Whatever it takes. I'm going to keep reminding this little girl that she deserves good things. That day wasn't a fun little outing. It was CPR for her soul. After that, I kept doing it. Every other week, when her siblings left for Miranda's house and Ava was left behind, I planned something special for just the two of us. I took her camping in the mountains. I took her on day-long hikes where we packed sandwiches and looked for salamanders under rocks. I took her to this little Greek restaurant she loved where the owner always gave her extra pita bread. I signed us up for a pottery class. I taught her how to ride a bike without training wheels in the empty parking lot behind my old school. I wasn't trying to be the fun stepmom or win some competition for her affection. I was trying to hold this child together with both hands. I was trying to fill the crater that had been left in her life when the woman she called mom decided she was disposable. When all 5 kids were home together during our weeks, I did normal family stuff with them. We had picnics in the backyard. We went to the smaller beach that was only 20 minutes away. We took them to the amusement park once, though that was a logistical nightmare. David and I basically had to split into 2 teams because the older kids acted like standing near the kiddie rides would give them a rash, and the younger ones weren't tall enough for anything good. But Ava, on the weeks her siblings left her behind like she didn't exist, she needed more than a walk around the block. Her siblings had a mom who hugged them, called them, bought them things, tucked them in at night, a mom who wanted them. Ava didn't. So yeah, I took her camping, I took her hiking, I took her to restaurants I knew she liked, I gave her days where she didn't feel like the kid who got thrown away. But her siblings started noticing. At first it was small comments. Why does Ava get a new swimsuit? One of the younger ones asked when they came home from Miranda's and saw the pink one hanging in the bathroom. Why does Ava get to go to the big beach? Another one whined when I mentioned offhandedly that Ava and I had spent the day there. Why does Ava get special stuff? I tried to explain it in ways they could understand. We all do fun things together too, I'd say. Remember when we went to the amusement park? Remember when we had that big picnic with the watermelon? But kids don't care about logic. Kids care about fairness, or at least their version of it. And honestly, they didn't understand what Ava had lost. They couldn't understand because they were living a completely different reality. They didn't understand that every time they packed their bags to see their mom, Ava watched from the stairs like she was made of glass. They didn't understand that while they were eating their mom's cooking and sleeping in their old rooms and getting tucked in at night, Ava was lying awake in our house wondering why why she wasn't good enough to love. The jealousy got worse over time. They started making pointed comments at dinner. "I wish I got to skip school to go hiking," one of them muttered when Ava mentioned a trail we'd explored. "Must be nice to be the favorite," another one said under their breath when I brought Ava back a souvenir from a day trip. I tried to shut it down. I reminded them that they got special time with their mom, that they got to do things with her that Ava didn't, but that just made them defensive. "That's different," they'd say. "That's our mom." And they were right. It was different, but they were too young to understand how. David started noticing the tension too. At first he tried to mediate, to remind the younger kids that everyone got special attention sometimes. But then he started pulling me aside after the kids went to bed, suggesting that maybe I should tone it down with Ava. "I think it's making the others feel left out," he'd say carefully. "She needs this," I'd tell him. "You know she needs this." "I know," he'd say, "but they're kids. They don't understand why it's different." "Then explain it to them," I'd snap back, "because I'm not going to stop." 3 months ago, everything came to a head. I'd just gotten back from a weekend camping trip with Avatuo days in the state park. Just the two of us, sleeping in a tent and cooking over a fire and identifying constellations. She'd been so happy. She'd laughed more in those 2 days than she had in the entire previous month. We'd come home Sunday evening, sunburned and exhausted and covered in mosquito bites, and she'd hugged me so tight before going to bed that night and whispered, "Thank you for not leaving me behind." The other 4 kids had gotten home from Miranda's that same evening, and apparently, while we were gone, they'd been complaining to David about how unfair it was that Ava got to go camping while they had to be at their mom's house, as if going to their mother's house was some kind of punishment. Monday morning, I was standing in the kitchen making lunches for school when David walked in. He looked tense, angry even. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't look up from the sandwiches I was making. "Okay, talk. The kids are getting jealous," he said. "They're getting really jealous of all the special trips you take with Ava." I paused, the knife hovering over a slice of bread. "Okay, I think we need to figure out a solution," he continued, "because this is becoming a problem." "What kind of solution?" I asked, already knowing where this was going. He crossed his arms. "Either you take all the kids on those trips, or you don't take Ava at all." I set the knife down very carefully. "Excuse me? You heard me," he said. "It's not fair to the other kids that Ava gets all this special treatment." I turned to face him fully. "Special treatment? You know what I mean," he said, his voice rising slightly. "The camping trips, the beach days, the hiking, the restaurants, they want to do that stuff too." I laughed. I actually laughed because the absurdity of what he was suggesting was so overwhelming that I didn't know what else to do. "You want me to take all 5 kids camping?" "Why not?" he said. "If you can take Ava, you can take all of them." I stared at him. This man who practically short circuits when 2 kids start fighting over the TV remote, thought I could manage 5 children in the wilderness alone. "I'll take all 5 kids camping," I said slowly. "When you take all 5 kids camping," he blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said, my voice getting sharper, "you don't even take them on a 20-minute grocery run without calling me to help. You think I can drag 5 kids through a 2-hour hike, a 4-hour beach trip, a 2-day camping trip where I'm responsible for keeping them all alive in the woods? Are you insane?" His face went red. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said. "I'm being honest. They fight nonstop. They scream and hit each other and melt down over the stupidest things. You want me to take that circus into the woods? You want me to be the only adult responsible when one of them inevitably gets hurt or lost, or decides they hate camping and demands to go home?" He pointed at me like I'd just insulted his ancestors. "You're a bad stepmom. A good stepmom would find a way to make it work for all of them." And that was when Ava walked into the room. She must have heard everything. She was standing in the doorway in her pajamas, her hair still messy from sleep, and her face was pale, terrified, like she thought she was about to lose me too. She whispered, "Are you going to stop taking me places?" Her siblings had come down the stairs too, hovering behind her like little shadows. All 4 of them were watching this play out like it was some kind of reality show drama. Before David could open his mouth again and ruin everything, I crouched down in front of Ava and said, "No, I'm not stopping anything." Her siblings watched her, all 4 of them, and one of them muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Of course she gets special stuff. She's her favorite." Ava flinched, physically flinched like she'd been slapped. David hissed, "See, this is the problem. You're creating division in this family." But I stood up and looked him dead in the eye. "No, the problem is that you want me to pretend your kids all need the same thing. They don't, and you know that. Ava's siblings have a mother who wants them. Ava doesn't. But if you want me to split myself into 5 versions of super stepmom and somehow manage to take 5 kids on day-long adventures by myself because you can't be bothered to parent them," I walked past him, grabbed my keys from the hook by the door, and opened the front door. "Then you can start by showing me how it's done." I stepped outside and slammed slammed the door so hard the frame shook. I sat in my car in the driveway for 20 minutes, shaking with anger. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. Text after text from David. That was uncalled for. You need to apologize. You're being unreasonable. The kids are upset. I didn't respond. I just sat there gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm my breathing. Eventually, I drove to a coffee shop and sat there for 3 hours, staring at my phone and replaying the whole conversation in my head. Was I being unreasonable? Was I playing favorites? Should I be trying harder to include all the kids equally? But then I thought about Ava curled up on that bathroom floor. I thought about the hollow look in her eyes when her siblings left for Miranda's. I thought about the way she'd hugged me after our camping trip and thanked me for not leaving her behind. No, I wasn't being unreasonable. I was being exactly what she needed. When I finally came home that evening, the house was quiet. David was in the living room, and when he saw me, he stood up like he'd been waiting. We need to finish this conversation, he said. Okay, I said. Let's finish it. We went into our bedroom and closed the door. And for the first time in our entire marriage, David and I had a fight where neither of us held back. He told me I was creating a hierarchy among the kids, that I was making Ava the special one, and the others were starting to resent her because of it, that I needed to be more mindful of how my actions affected the whole family, not just one child. I told him he was being willfully blind to what was actually happening, that his children had the privilege of a mother who loved them, and Ava had been abandoned, and if he couldn't see the difference, then he was failing her as a father, that I was doing what I was doing because someone needed to, because Ava was drowning, and I was the only one throwing her a lifeline. So what do you want me to do? He finally yelled. Tell the other kids their feelings don't matter? I want you to explain to them that fair doesn't always mean equal, I yelled back. I want you to help them understand that Ava's not getting special treatment. She's getting what she needs to survive. There's a difference. The fight went on for over an hour. We said things we probably shouldn't have said. We dredged up old resentments and fears that had nothing to do with the kids and everything to do with the fact that blending a family is impossibly hard, and we were both exhausted, and neither of us knew if we were doing it right. Eventually, we both just ran out of steam. We sat on the edge of our bed in silence, not touching, barely looking at each other. I don't know how to fix this, David said quietly. Neither do I admitted. In the weeks that followed, things got worse before they got better. The other kids started acting out more. One of them accidentally broke Ava's new boogie board. Another one started making comments about how I loved Ava more than them. The youngest started having tantrums whenever I tried to help her with anything, screaming that she wanted her real mom. David and I barely spoke, except to coordinate logistics. We moved around each other like strangers in our own house, and Ava became quieter than ever. She stopped mentioning our trips. She started declining when I asked if she wanted to do something special. I don't want to make everyone mad, she said. That broke something in me, because the one person in this entire mess who deserved to be angry, the one person who had every right to demand more, to ask for everything, was the one person trying to make herself smaller so everyone else would be comfortable. Finally, about a month after the big fight, I insisted that David and I go to couples therapy. He resisted at first, but I told him it was non-negotiable. We needed help. We needed someone outside this situation to tell us if I was crazy, or if he was being unreasonable, or if we were both wrong. Our therapist, a woman named Dr. Chen, who'd been working with blended families for 20 years, listened to both of us explain our sides. Then she asked to meet with all 5 kids individually, with David and me separately, and then together again. After 3 sessions, she finally gave us her assessment. You're both right, she said, and you're both wrong. She explained that yes, the other children's feelings of jealousy were valid and needed to be addressed, but also yes, Ava had experienced a profound trauma that required specialized attention. The solution wasn't to stop giving Ava what she needed. The solution was to help the other children understand why their sister needed different things, and to find ways to meet their needs too, without demanding that I become a superhero who could manage 5 kids on solo adventures. She suggested family therapy for all of us. She suggested that David needed to step up and start taking the other kids on special outings too, so they didn't feel like I was the only source of special attention. She suggested that we have honest, age-appropriate conversations with all the kids about what happened with Miranda and why Ava's situation was different. It wasn't a magic fix, but it was a start. David started planning monthly outings with each of the other kids individually, just him and one child. They'd go to a movie, or out for pizza, or to the batting cages. It wasn't camping in the mountains, but it was something. It was him showing up, and slowly, very slowly, things started to shift. The jealousy didn't disappear entirely, but it got more manageable. The other kids started to understand, in their own limited ways, that Ava's trips with me weren't about favoritism. They were about survival. revival. Ava started smiling again, started accepting my invitations for adventures, started believing maybe that she deserved good things. It's been 6 months since that fight in the kitchen. We're still in therapy, all of us. It's messy and hard, and some days I wonder if I'm cut out for this whole stepmom thing. But last weekend I took Ava hiking, just the two of us. We climbed to the top of a ridge and sat there eating trail mix and looking out over the valley below. And she turned to me and said, "I'm glad you didn't give up on me." Never, I told her. Not ever. My stepkids might not fully understand why I do what I do for Ava. They might never fully understand, but Ava understands. And for now, that's enough. If anything else happens, I might update. But for now, we're taking it one day at a time, one hike at a time, one small moment of proof that she matters at a time. Thanks for reading if you made it this far. Sometimes you just need to tell the story to people who might actually understand.